Hangguang, largest military exercise for Taiwan. Why are these drills specifically important for Taiwan's defense?
Well, I think there are two main reasons I would say these exercises are so important. The first is obviously it is an opportunity at the largest and highest levels of command for the military to rehearse and to practice these very complicated maneuvers, and so that's important in its own right. Second, it's an important signaling tool, sending a signal to the Taiwanese people that the military is prepared to defend them, sending a signal to Beijing that indeed they should not attempt an invasion. And of course, we can't ignore the fact it needs to send a signal to Washington that improvements are being made to the military and that Taiwan's military is worth investing in.
And this year was supposed to be the first time that these drills were unscripted, focusing on decentralization. Can you explain what that change is, why it's significant, and even maybe the decision, the motivation for that decision making?
So as best I understand, the decision was made because there has been a lot of pressure from analysts in the United States, but also in Taiwan, that the military is too hierarchical, it's too centralized, which means that the decisions are all made at the top and that the people at the bottom, the captains, the lieutenants, the privates, they wait around for orders. And obviously this doesn't really reflect how modern warfare works, where sometimes you lose contact with higher up, sometimes your higher command doesn't know what's going on. And so you need to allow frontline officers and leaders to make their own decisions. With that in mind, though, I have to say I'm a little bit skeptical because a major exercise like Hangguang is not necessarily the best place to try to introduce this bottom-up way of making decisions. The simple fact is this exercise is so large and it involves so much interaction with civil authorities and the cities and the municipalities that planning started months, probably even years ago. And so for the administration at the very last minute to say, we're going to go unscripted, simply isn't going to happen. That's just not the way these things actually work.
Do you think Taiwan should maybe get used to the fact that because it's in an area that sees so many typhoons and earthquakes, that maybe conducting a drill during these conditions?
Certainly there is a risk-benefit calculus that the highest levels of military and political leadership have to make. And I can understand the need to say this typhoon is large enough and threatening enough, we need to pause. But I would agree with you. Pause, I think, should be the operative word. Because if you really want to show that you have an organization that can adapt on the fly to an unforeseen circumstance like an enemy attack, like showing China and Washington the ability to say, you know what, this thing, we spent a year planning for it, a typhoon came, but we will adapt, we will pause, and we will start again, or we'll recock and do it again in September or in October. I think that would send a very powerful message that the Taiwanese military gets what we mean by flexibility and adaptability and pushing leadership down to lower levels.